Hi, I'm Dennis Weiss for Eagle Communications. Welcome to our town. We're here with Dan Brown and we're at the Eisenhower Upper Elementary School. First time I've taped in here since everything was done, Dan. Looking forward to talking about an after-school program. So, you know, our town's about the good things that are going on in our community, and we simply put people who are doing good things in that chair and let them tell their story. And I hope to ask some questions and things that generate conversation. But I have some recent experience with the after-school program that tells me that there's that it's a lot of fun for kids, and there's some great things. So tell people behind the lens what the after-school program is, and I've got some questions for you.
Sure. Well, the after-school program is not only after school, but it's before and after school.
Okay.
So a lot of people don't realize that we open our doors at 5 o'clock in the morning. And from 5 o'clock, about 5:15, we have a couple kids roll in here at Eisenhower, our new location for the before school program.
Okay.
Taking advantage of all the extra space we have here and the other opportunities that this new building provides us.
Sure.
And so we bring them in, and they're little guys. We put them back to sleep usually, and they sleep in the music room for about an hour. So about 6:30, we start waking them up and getting them into an activity. But we have kids that get here later than 5:15, around 6:30, and so we just go ahead and put them directly into a before school program, or not a before school, but an activity that we got going on. You know, we thought about that before school program. It was something new we added on our last series of grants through the 21st Century Grants. We were concerned about our military families. You know, we're no longer a society where grandma and grandpa lives next door. We're so transit. We got military people coming into town left and right, and people having to work factory, and grandma and grandpa's no longer down the street. So who do you have take care of your babies at 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning? And so we came up with this idea, the before school program, and it's proven itself very worthwhile. And like I said, it's there to help out our military as well as a factory worker person that has to get to work early in the morning.
You know, you've already answered the first question that somebody watching us today had, and that is, why are you doing things at 5 o'clock in the morning for somebody else's kids? You just answered that question, but let's dwell on it a minute. I've had Dr. Guy in the seat numerous times over the last year with update on USD 435, you know, so we've talked about things like this, but I want to tie it together. The reason that this is going on is because there's, number one, a legitimate need.
I believe
and
so.
Number two, it's in the interest of the community to do it well. And so we have these facilities, we have professionals to apply for grants, to bring funding, and it makes great use of a community resource, talent, building, and we raise our children with more care than otherwise would be if we left the situation alone. Fair statement?
I agree. I agree with it 100%.
Okay, all right. Now I know you have, first of all, give you some level set. I grew up in southwest Colorado, right on the edge of the Navajo Reservation, and I was still in Colorado when most of the children from the reservation were being bused to schools off the reservation if they went to school at all. And we had kindergartners in Blanding, Utah, making, on dirt roads, 80 miles one way.
Oh my.
In the morning and at night, just for the chance to come to school. And that wasn't before school and after school, that was just to be there.
School day.
What a privilege we have in Abilene, Kansas, with the legacy that Dwight David Eisenhower, we're setting in. We have his picture behind us, but just the society that the wealth of America has created for us, what a privilege.
I can't argue with those points. I think we're very fortunate to live in the community that we do live into. And the after-school program, if I start to talk about it, is only existence because of community support. We've had Rotary Club, Hank Royer, people of that variety step forward and say, hey, there's a need. And so they explored it with their own money, and then because through the money that they provided, we decided, oh, this is a real concern, real need. And then we went out and looked for national grants, and that's when we started using the 21st Century Grant many, many years ago. And we have just adapted, evolved, made some things happen. To talk about the after-school program, it happens immediately after school. We take the kids from their attendance center. Now we take the kids from the attendance center over at McKinley, and we bring them to Eisenhower right after school.
Okay.
So right after school, we get about 60 to 75 kids here.
Put them on a bus and bring them over?
Yep, with what we have here at Eisenhower. Then over at Kennedy, we have the K1 kids. We give them a snack. We have them do homework. That my lead teacher over there is Mrs. Barrett.
Okay.
She does Bertina Barrett. She does a fine job for us. And to be more efficient with our money, we close that site down about 5 o'clock. So somewhere around 4:45, as your daughter has probably told you, because she works for the program, we bring all the kids over here. So basically, at the end of the night, parents have one stop and to come and get their kids instead of having to run one location and then the other. And it just helps me be more efficient with my staff members.
Okay.
But when they're here, we provide them snack, we provide them homework assistance, and then we have an activity for them to do. I'm very fortunate with the staff I have. I have Mrs. Britt from the high school. She provides an art activity for them. I have two lovely young ladies that grew up out at King Solomon Camp, the Brundage girls.
Sure. Right.
They are very talented in the world of music, and they take the kids and they share that passion. I've got a young lady that grew up in this community, Sky Roberts. She takes them into the gym and does has a big group activity, physical activity. And of course, then you got myself and Christian Summers, who introduces them to science and lets them work on some of the things, science experiments and stuff.
Okay.
So we have a full night, and we have many learning opportunities for the kids.
You know, that's one thing. My daughter comes home, and I always ask, you know, what'd you do today with the little ones? And she tells me about it. It's inspiring to me to see, first of all, the connection. My daughter's 24, and these little ones are making a connection. And a positive connection is the key to everything living in a society. You know,
I
just
agree.
so important. And then she talks about each one, and well, this little guy didn't feel so good today, but so he took a little rest, and then we got into the activity. And it's very easy to see, Dan, that a lot of people are taking care to manage these children in a positive way. Isn't that what school is all about?
That's what our program, after school program, is all about, is spending quality time with those kids and building those relationships. Because if you have a relationship, then the kid will just go through brick walls for you,
Right.
or you know, do
Learning happens on its
for you.
own.
Yeah.
After that, you just provide the opportunity to learn, and learning happens because
exciting.
we're created to learn. You know, that brain just reaches out and gets that information and does great things with it.
One of the things that recently occurred, we used to have a 21st Century Grant for just the K-5 kids.
Okay.
And the middle school had a long time ago had a 21st Century Grant, and that grant had expired a long time ago. And so the middle school was surviving on funds that wasn't very steady.
Okay.
But there was enough to keep it going. But this round, Chris Cooper, our assistant superintendent, he wrote a grant so that K-8 would have funding and would have the security that there would be money there to to support the programs for the next 5 years. So we just started that cycle. So the next 5 years, we do have that funding in place, and it just connects us all. We don't have two separate programs, we have one program, and so the communication is so much better and so much more efficient, and we know we have the funding there for the kids for long term.
Got a couple of things in my mind. The first one's funding, and the second one is we live in a rural, and we'll compare it to cities, and you sent me some data on that I found really interesting. But the first one I want to really cement for the viewers is this got started because people helped you locally do this program. You still have investors today locally who help this thing go. I am more than happy for you to tell people who they are, and ask if anybody else wants to help. What a great opportunity to make our community better right here.
Yeah, a lot of people have donated money using the community foundation, and of course there's I don't know all the ins and outs of the Dixon County Community Foundation, but I know that Christine would be more than happy to help you with that. I have Mrs. Hoffman. She has been a supporter of the after-school program. The Robinsons have donated in the past, and I've had a church group, the Sunday school group, that donates as well. So that's the beauty of this program. It's not a program that belongs just to the USD 435. It's a program that belongs to
our town.
To Abilene, our town.
To our town.
Absolutely.
You know, Dan, I did that to have you be able, you're the guy who runs the program, be able to look at the camera and say that. Because, you know, I run into people all the time that say, what can I do? Well, that answer's nearly limitless. You too, if this touches your heart or touches something in you that says, I want to see that happen, there's lots of ways. You can contact the Dixon County Community Foundation. There are several other local clubs. You know, if you're a Kiwanis or Lion or Rotary, just ask. Somebody will funnel you in the right direction.
Absolutely.
But this is so critical that people get this message. This good thing is happening because local people started it. Chris Cooper wrote the last grant. But the first grant was somebody helping you move this thing forward, and the school saying, yes, we want to help.
And of course that started back when Denise Guy was the assistant superintendent.
That's right.
She spent many hours getting those grants written and established as well. If I can go about what's happening with this new grant, Chris Cooper added some challenges for me and my staff through it. And one of the things is he wanted a communication person, a person that's their sole job is to survey the parents, making sure we're meeting their needs, making sure that this person contacts the classroom teachers and so on and so forth. So he said, we need a communication person. And
Sounds
he
like
hired
a great idea.
Jenny Wilkins from the middle school. And she is an amazing young lady. I sat down with her for about 5 minutes because I didn't quite know how I was going to pull all this together, this new position and stuff. But after about 5 minutes of listening to her talk, and you just get a warm feeling about her, and you know she's going to do an awesome job. I do need to mention that up at the middle school, Don Holloway has kind of spearheaded that program up there with the help of Ron Wilson, and so we're so glad that now Dawn knows that there's funding, and she's going to be able to continue to operate that program for years. One of the things that Jenny Wilkins is adding to our program is what we call a peer night, and basically families are going to be invited back to Eisenhower, and we're going to have an education program. So we're going to usually provide a small snack or a quick snack for the after-school kids and the parents at 5:30, and then there's a program. And so our first program is September 20th.
Okay.
And that's going to involve the Abilene Public Library. Cheryl Davison is going to come and talk to us about, you know, how we can get our kids engaged in reading and how they can take advantage of that. And we have other educational programs every month. And it's not only in, the educational part is not only for the after-school kids and their family, but anybody in the community. So if you want to show up at 6, we will give you a program that
it's
will
a great
fill your
opportunity
mind. Absolutely.
For people to come see who you are and what you do.
Absolutely.
And they can make up their own mind about what they think about it, but the fact that you're offering it opens that transparency window.
That's
Great
right.
thing. You know, you sent me some data, and when I first thought about after school programs, immediately it comes the news stories of a decade ago of inner city life and things that were provided after school. And that was my common frame of reference until I moved to this part of the world, frankly. And your note to me wasn't the first I'd heard of it, but it was my first in-depth look. So I'm very interested in your data, and it was comparing the need and usage inner city and rural. Those lines are awfully close.
They are.
You know, numbers don't come across on TV. I'll tell you, the lines are awfully close, and they're all headed in the same direction. So that means we're not exempt, because the modern lifestyle is in Abilene as well. Parents leaving at 5 o'clock, maybe more because of Fort Riley. So, but here, we have the same needs here as any place else in the world.
Absolutely, the rural need is great.
The good news is we're providing it and doing a great job.
And the story's getting out. We just are, one of the things Chris Cooper is doing is he's mentoring a couple new programs, cities that are starting after school, like Washington, Kansas.
Right.
And so we're spreading the news. It's part of our mission and responsibility to let the rest of the country know what good things are happening in an after-school program.
You mentioned Jenny Wilkins. We've had her on camera a number of times with different hats on.
Yes.
But the same thing has always been under the hat, and that's Jenny Wilkins with a care and concern over young people, as well as the gift of kindness. And that's a perfect recipe for what you're describing here. You know, I'm a very conservative guy. People who know me know that I'm on that very conservative side, where I am very comfortable to look at the camera and say, you know, this is probably one of the best uses of community resources you could imagine, because those little guys have no choice on where they are at 5:15 in the morning, or what their circumstances are, or after school, or in the case of the Food for Kids program, which we've done more than once here on TV, what they're going to get to eat over the weekend. We are the ones with choices, Dan. People like you and I and Dave behind the camera, we get to decide whether we help, whether we're kind, or whether we're not. I'm so happy that Abilene has chosen to be so strong here.
Yeah, you know, if we did not have the scholarship money, there were some kids, we would have to put a cap on the number of kids I could enroll. So right now, I'm between Kennedy and here, I'm dealing with over 100 kids. And if I didn't have the additional help from the people we suggested earlier, and the grant, we would have to cap, because I'd have to become more and more a businessman. But I do take my responsibility using that money wisely, very seriously, because even though we try to help everybody out that we can, we want them to have buy-in, and you only have buy-in and ownership in the program if you're willing to put some money on the table.
Sure.
So, and that helps with the people that provide funding for us, is they say, well, we like to help, but we want people trying to help themselves. So we have a range of fees. We have people pay $5 a day because they can. And then we have people that get additional scholarships and pay $1 a night. But there's very few that get a free ride, but there are some families that are very deserving, and they're trying to make the best of their situation, and they deserve a full ride, because we have a great story. I don't know if you've gone online. I have a YouTube video out there of a mother had 5 kids, and she gives testimony about the fact that with 5 kids trying to do homework after school is crazy. And you have no family time. But because we can provide that tutoring, we can get it done, and then she can have a real family.
Well, Dan Brown, I can't imagine a more fun opportunity than to turn our cameras on the after school and before school program here at USD 435. I can't imagine a more deserving subjects of our attention than these little ones who need this help. And I can't imagine a different response from Dwight David Eisenhower's hometown than the one that we have done. So well done. Thank you for inviting us to come. Really have enjoyed the time. Folks, you want to know more? He's at Eisenhower Upper Elementary, and Denise Guy's down on 3rd Street in the school district building. Anywhere in between, you can ask anybody. Chris Cooper at West Country Mart, when you see him, ask him what you can do. They would love to have your assistance and your help. Very worthy. Dan, thanks again.
You bet.
Okay, we're going to say goodbye to you for today, but we'll see you next time. I work for Eagle Communications. My name is Dennis Weiss. This is Dan Brown. He works for USD 435 and is in charge of the after-school program here. We hope you have a great day.